the role of a CFO and the role of a controller is becoming a lot more strategic. I'm seeing this shift as we speak. Now cash becomes king. I would say now kingmaker. At the end of the day, if you're not collecting cash, what's the point of just driving paper revenue?
Welcome to Heroes of AI, powered by Growfin, a thought leadership series that spotlights the unsung champions and their transformational contributions in solving some of the biggest problems in the accounts receivable space. I'm your host, Pradyut Hande, and on this episode, we feature Aravind Gopalan, CEO and co-founder of Growfin. Welcome to episode 1 of Heroes of AR powered by Growfin. I'm your host, Pradyut Hande, Associate Director of Product Marketing at Growfin. And today I'm joined by our very own co-founder and CEO, Mr. Aravind Gopalan himself. Now, Aravind co-founded Growfin back in 2021 as an end-to-end AR automation software to help enterprise finance teams streamline their complex order-to-cash processes, accelerate collections, and cash flow. He previously co-founded Frilp.com, which was a social recommendation tool acquired by Freshworks in 2015, and post then went on to helm product leadership roles at Freshworks before retaking the plunge as a proven entrepreneur with Growfin. So Aravind, thank you so much for making the time, joining us today, and great to have you on board as we kick off this really exciting thought leadership series.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Pradyut. I'm super excited. Centering heroes behind AR.
Absolutely, Aravind. Thank you so much. And we have plenty to unpack on this episode. So let's dive right in. So, what's happened in the recent past is that the World Bank has cut average global growth rates by 2.3%, and it's the lowest forecast since 2008. Which also makes this particular decade one of the slowest in terms of growth since the 1960s. And of late, the federal bank has also increased interest rates in such a volatile economic climate. What makes accounts receivable or AR the most critical function in terms of present-day corporate finance?
Yeah, good question to start. It's not just the growth rate, right? Like so many things happening across the world with wars and with tariffs and all of that. My perspective is this, Pradyut. I think what this situation has led to, and we're all seeing it in the form of growth rate being cut down and interest rate in US being hiked and inflation growing at all. My perspective is it brings in two things for enterprises, for CFOs to care about, right? One is the cost of capital. So what was previously available, the flow of fund capital for growing companies or public companies or private equity companies, the cost of capital has significantly increased, either in the form of raising capital or even borrowing, right, through interest rates and all that. So this puts large enterprises in a situation where you have to manage your working capital efficiently, right, and cash flow super efficiently. And the other thing is also the cost of goods through inflation, right? If you are a company which is manufacturing, or in fact in the form of services, your cost of goods has significantly risen, and your cost of capital also has become really expensive, right, with interest rates. So this puts us in a very tricky situation in this market, and it's not just a problem today, right? It's going to be for the foreseeable future, at least for the next few years. And we never know when the tariff war ends, and we know when the true war ends. So this is where we are, and how this sort of makes me think about AR is every business now, to streamline their working capital and cash flow, have streamline their treasury and manage their cash inflow and cash outflow, right? You're managing your cash outflow, your spends pretty critically, and also this puts a huge focus on how you're managing your cash inflow too, right? So now all the more for controllership and AR, it becomes super critical in managing how we collect, how efficiently are we collecting, how efficiently are we managing our AR ledger, and how are we able to navigate this scenario. Just to give you a perspective, right? If if you as a company is controlling your spends, we need to assume that the customers are practically also controlling their spends, which
Right.
becomes critical on understanding how are you managing your AR operations and prioritizing your AR in ensuring that you're able to collect more efficiently and faster, right? And that's puts as a long-term impact on how you manage your working capital as a business, considering the climate today. So yeah, I would say it's at a all-time high on how CFOs play a strategic role in managing the cash flow and working capital of the business through the levers that they have. And it's balancing that becomes critical.
Makes sense. I think I love the last point that you made, and we'll come back to that later on in the conversation. Um, so we've established the fact that AR is now a very critical. It always has been. It's just assumed a more, higher criticality level in today's climate. That also brings me to my next question, which is just in terms of operations. Now, there are collections teams, there are AR functions that attempt to solve this by scaling headcount, which may or may not be the best possible solution here. Now, in the quest to improve collection efficiency, in the quest to reduce DSO, how does AR operations come into the picture?
Traditionally, AR as a function, as you pointed out, historically, AR has now become more critical. And AR as a function has always been operating as a back office
Right.
sort of a function, right? But what sort of this puts us is a perspective for controllers to get a seat in the table, to be able to think about on three things. One, how do I drive efficiency in the way we are in this climate? How do I drive efficiency in the way we are operating AR? This has impacts in two levers. One, how much are you investing? How much are you spending and investing in ensuring that capital or your collections or your AR is collected faster, right?
Mhm.
So that drives towards efficiency. And the other part is how efficient is your operations today in managing three things. One, how
Mhm.
efficiently are you able to collect faster? And two, how do you manage growth through this process? And three, and how do you manage your customer experience as well,
Right.
right? And this gives a different perspective, Pradyut, if you look at it. AR function is probably one of the few functions
Mhm.
under the Office of Finance,
Right.
which is more customer facing, right? They have a role beyond managing your ledger and finances is working with your customers, managing the customer experience, managing, balancing growth
Mhm.
to finances and collections and operational aspects around it. So it's how you liaise with your customers, how you manage your customer experience, how you work with your customer facing teams as
Mhm.
well in managing your collections today, while handling growth, and two, while handling the right customer expectations, identifying the right collection strategy for each customer, operationally understanding, um, you know, what it takes towards balancing the experience towards still being identifying risk and collecting payments on time, right? So it gives your operations become super critical
Right.
in considering the macro scenario and how AR is important considering the macro scenario. It all boils down to how you are balancing these to be able to, and at the end of the day, also how are you efficiently running this process, right?
Right.
So AR teams and controllers are taking a more critical and a strategic step
Mhm.
in today's market in driving efficiency, and it's become super imperative on that front.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And um, I'm glad you brought up, a couple of points in the responses that you gave to my first two questions. Regarding the fact that The office of the CFO, of course, they have, as a leadership voice, they have a seat at the table, right? No denying that. But it's AR that is actually driving a lot of this change internally now. And we foresee that to continue to, move trend in the upward direction. Um, I also want to pick your brains now about, you know, the very often you, as you rightly pointed out, the AR as a function is viewed and treated as a back office, sort of support function almost. But they are the real heroes here, right? They are helping CFOs get a more strategic voice out there, emboldening them with the kind of data, the reports, the projections that help them do their jobs better. But I wanted to understand, in this current economic climate, right, where you have, and organizations are, watching their liquidity tighten, their teams are probably thinning out to some extent. Collections might be freezing. There's lesser predictability around how they could do it. What change in mindset would you recommend to not just CFOs in general, but AR folks driving this, to actually become a more strategic lever or a catalyst for internal and external growth?
Over my experience at Growfin over the last 4 years, right, I had the opportunity to work with really amazing CFOs,
Right.
speak to them, controllers who are strategic. So I think the role is the role of a CFO and the role of a controller is becoming a lot more strategic. I'm seeing this shift as we speak. And anecdotally, I was speaking to a CFO last week, and one of the conversations was, hey, oftentimes we see it's a growing company.
Right.
Oftentimes we see growth as a factor of how much revenue we are able to drive, right? But the lens the CFO was wearing was, we are operationally being able to drive good amount of growth in revenue in certain segments of our business. But what's the biggest missing piece is there are certain segments which are really high growth in revenue, but not great for cash flow.
Right.
Now, at the end of the day, if you're not collecting cash, what's the point of just driving paper revenue, right?
True.
So this was a statement. So the way they are viewing it, and I recommend this to CFOs in future as well, and this is strategically changing, I should say, is the way the world is moving, and the role of a controller and the role of a CFO, the way it's changing is looking at your funnel end to end, right? Looking at, when I say end to end, looking at segments and pockets of your business which are high drivers of growth operationally doesn't end with how much you are booked in revenue. It boils down to right from how much pipeline you're able to drive to revenue you're able to drive to cash that you're able to collect from that segment, right? Now, oftentimes businesses today lack that insight, lack that view of how do I look at my business end to end, right? Up to. So a CFO needs to play a more strategic role in having this view and being able to influence the direction in which the company strategically is operating, and work with the COO, work with the CRO, and work with the CEO in planning your year on where are the areas where we continue to invest. So it becomes a lot more strategic on understanding how your AR or cash collected becomes critical. And also, as I said before, right, this part of it is being strategic about where do you invest as a business and grow. And given this market, given that you're tightening your cash flow of the business, it becomes imperative that you look at end-to-end funnel, right? It drives a lot more operational efficiency overall as a business, and tightens the way, as I said, bridging the gap between the CRO, the customer-facing teams, and your AR teams in helping you manage the customer experience through this process as well, right? It's truly identifying the ICP in the right way, not just the way in which you can drive, revenue to the business. Yeah. So my recommendation to CFOs is to look at the business holistically, not just from a revenue driver, but from a cash flow standpoint, viewpoint as well.
Or it makes sense. And so much of that actually has a trickle down effect, right? It's not just about cash coming in, cash going out, it impacts so many more facets of the business at large. I think fantastic insights shared there. Thank you for that, Arvind. And now I'm going to dial in a little further. I'm going to bring up something that you are truly passionate about, and you've had like a very future forward point of view on this, which is AI, right? We all know it's more than just a buzzword now. It's been a rage in the tech SaaS space for the last 7, 8 years, and it's continuing to gather further momentum. It's also permeated the world of accounts receivable, right? What we've seen, and I'm sure you also have, way before even I was part of Growfin, is the fact that the complexities of AR go far beyond adding an intelligence layer over automation workflows, right? And these complexities are often compounded by the unique behavioral patterns that are aligned with every single customer, right? So, how does an AI strategy, on a broader level, uh, bolster the entire AR ops as such?
Sure. A personal favorite topic of mine, I would say.
I had to bring it up.
It's true. Yeah, I'm passionate about this because personally, before I answer your question, so when we started Flip, right, we started it as a core machine learning platform. This was back in 2010, right? So when we started that, we were thinking, to be honest, we were a little ahead of where the market was. But I'm like, since 2010, I'm really passionate about like machine learning AI, and that's my bread and butter. And the fact that I'm able to the exponential curve in which is AI is growing today, and the fact that I'm able to apply it to making AR heroes, is sort of like super exciting personally for me in bringing that this entire topic. But to answer your question specifically, how AI sort of like could potentially influence AR, right? So I would see this in two ways. So let me we spoke about the macro, right?
Right.
So if you are, as a business, as a CFO, you are thinking about how can you control spends in a market like this. How can I control capital? How can I control spends? How can I control my AP, which is the same that your customers are going to do as well, right? Your customers in this market are going to consider, how are you as a vendor should I place in the hierarchy of how I'm considering towards
Payment hierarchy. Yeah.
AP, right? Your AR is their AP, basically, right? So they're payables. So they are going to basically think about, how do I prioritize payments for you? How am I going to basically think about whether to pay, when to pay, all of that. So it is super critical that businesses today are identifying businesses uniquely
Right.
at a customer to customer level, understanding their situation, understanding how are they operating as a business, and working with the customer and the relationship that you have with the customer, and where do you as a business stand in their importance, right?
Right.
As a part, right? So now AR teams have to play this, wear this strategic hat, right?
Right.
In understanding, okay, where do we stand for this customer as a solution provider or a service provider or a product? How critical are we for them, and where are we in that hierarchy, right?
Right.
So the challenge here in doing that is you have to do that at scale. If you're a business which is growing and operating at scale, how do you manage this with, your ART?
Right.
Now, one way of managing this is you can sort of automate a bunch of things. You can segment your customers, you can apply some rules, and you can automate some of this, or you can basically expand your team in hiring. Each of these has its own challenges, right? It's doing things more manually, expanding the team involves cost in a market like this again, all of that. So this is where I feel AI as a value position for the customer brings huge advantage in the current market, right? Now, what does AI provide value over the first two options that I was talking about? Just either automation or this. Now AI, with the advent of AI, I've been involved in AI machine learning since 2010, right?
Right.
The advent, the extent in which it has exponentially grown
Right.
allows businesses to be able to understand the true risk of your customers, your collections, your AR portfolio at a customer level today,
Right.
right? And it also allows you to understand at scale the behavior in which your customers have been paying in the past towards what they are paying today,
Right.
right? As you pointed out, right? Uh, a behavior of payment of your customer tells a lot about the risk in which you are going to operate your overall business. In the credits that you offer, how do you collect? How do you strategize? How do you manage your overall collections? So AI allows you to predict and manage this risk at scale.
Right.
And based off that, it allows you to automate a lot of these things in a more efficient fashion. Now, now you're not talking about segmenting and templatizing your strategy to customers. You're talking about personalizing it at a customer level.
At a
You
segment of
exactly right. You're now thinking about customer A. The way you are approaching customer A is different from customer B. And now you need to handle this for thousands of customers at scale. This is where AI adds a lot of value in understanding the behavior of the payment, in understanding the risk of collections, in understanding how do I strategize, right? And one more lever I would add is, the role of the CFO when I spoke about
right.
how they are becoming, looking at the funnel end to end, right? Now, now the AI analytics allows you to have provide insights and analytics on how your business is faring end to end from where your biggest revenue growth drivers and where are your biggest cash flow drivers. That helps you to build insights for CFOs in going with strategic opportunities of growth and
Right.
knowing where to cut spends, where to dial down, where to dial up in business, right? So not just driving operational efficiency, but also strategic direction of the business. And oftentimes, one point to add is, AI is confused with agentic, right?
So
Um, so AI can help you in predicting risk, optimizing, et cetera, right? But what agentic does is it augments and it enables your existing AR team to operate at 2x the efficiency that they are operating today. And oftentimes it's mistaken that, it's sort of like replaces collectors. It's hard to replace, right? It's never probably, in my viewpoint, it's not going to replace AR teams because AR teams are going to be a lot more strategic today
right.
than about just managing ledger, right? So it is going to help them operate at 2x efficiencies. So on one end, it becomes strategic. On one end, it understands behavior and help you in predicting risks and operating at that level. And the agentic end, it is going to help your collectors and your AR team to operate at 2x efficiency, improving your overall operational efficiency as a business as well. So this is where I view AI and behavioral AI that we are investing in, driving a lot more efficiency in how businesses can start operating and looking at AR as a strategic function.
Fantastic, fantastic. I could hear the passion and zest with which your tone also changed while you were answering this particular question. And it just goes to show that, having spent almost 15 years working with MLAI, you've truly seen the evolution of what it brings to the table and the impact and outcomes that it can drive. Something that a lot of businesses actually struggle with, especially when it comes to AI and AR also. They don't want to miss out on the hype train and suffer from a fear of missing out, so to say. So identifying the outcomes that it can also drive is also critical for businesses, instead of just either taking a back seat and not driving change, or jumping head over heels and investing in something that may not show the results as well. So I think that's something that came up in our conversation, some other industry folks as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to add on to absolutely, one more point that I would like to add on is um, AI is not, so oftentimes people think that AI is like a feature, a
Right.
functionality in some of the softwares and systems that we use, right? But it is not true anymore, right? It's not a buzzword. It not enables you to sort of like add elements to your business, add elements to the systems that you use.
It's foundational
What
now.
it is a fundamental shift, right? It fundamental shift in the way in which you are, the way how businesses were managing from physical ledger to digital ledger,
Right.
to moving from digital ledger to cloud,
Right.
now moving from cloud to AI. It's a fundamental shift, right? And businesses and CFO thought leaders who are in the forefront adopting this fundamental shift are able to see a lot more efficiency, right? So I was in a customer call a couple of days back, and the level in which they are able to drive efficiency is insightful and fascinating for me as well, right? When you see that what technology could do to the business and operations today. So yeah, so it's a fundamental shift. That's a perspective I believe that businesses and thought leaders need to take today.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Arvind. Then that actually brings me to our final question of this conversation. And now's the time to put on your, predictive hat, so to speak, or like gaze into the crystal ball a little bit. And we'd love to hear from you just in terms of your future first insights. Now, we've established that we're in the midst of a global economic slowdown. Things are only going to get tougher. We foresee this to happen for the next 7 or 8 years. Hopefully, it doesn't, but we can't control what's happening around the world. So the global economic outlook is definitely precarious. We've established that there is likely to be more credit stress. There'll be multi-market shocks, decreasing cash flows. Amidst all of this, we talked about what leaders need to do now, what AR functions need to be doing right now. What can they start focusing on, preparing for a future that does look largely bleak as of now? What should they be focusing on just in terms of optimizing their accounts receivable as such?
I think in a market scenario like this, now cash becomes king, and cash is always the king.
Always been king, and I think it's become an emperor now.
Yeah, I would say now kingmaker. So, yeah. So now sort of CFO's role, as we spoke, is super critical in the way they structure businesses going forward, right? One lens that I've been seeing, I've been trending, and my viewpoint, again, it's my opinion, is the days of growth at all cost is fairly gone, right? Now businesses are looking at profitability, looking at tightening cash, not just tightening cash flow, right? It's balancing. How do you balance growth to cash flow of your business, to working capital of the business, and also sort of like manage your spends. Now this involves people to rethink on strategic investments that they make. So the templates of the past are probably not applicable anymore, right? Business leaders, founders, CFOs, COs, CROs, they cannot continue to operate in the way they used to operate in 2010s, right?
True.
2020s is a lot different. So now we need to rewrite the template. Now, if you're rewriting the template, what does now it defines the question of what does efficiency mean?
True.
Right? What was efficiency in 2015 is not efficiency in 2025, right? What is I'm talking about operational efficiency, right? And what is how do you manage investments, right? How do you balance risk to investment? All that takes a different lens and a viewpoint of a business. Probably what was heavily driven by a revenue generating function in the past, which is a CEO or a CRO. Now a CFO needs to be in that table, right? Without a CFO in the table, a meeting cannot happen on how are you balancing risk to investment. Now CFO is no more a supporting function, right?
True.
Which was saying, hey, we want to invest and we want to expand our business in Europe. What is the cash position and what is the investment? And this is sort of the budget. It's not about just okay, we are going to do this. What is the budget that we need for that? It is more like, hey, how do we manage the risk of investing in it, and what is the future projections and planning? So FP&A plays a critical role in balancing risk into investment, right? That's one big key lever in how you plan your business, not just for the year, but for thinking, 3 years, 4-year roadmap of your business. And second is, I talked about operational efficiency.
Right.
So what was efficiency in 2015 is probably not the same efficiency today. Now you need to rethink how businesses are operating, else competition is going to adopt and businesses are going to die, right? Businesses are taking a strategic shift, and this is where technology plays a big role, right? It is an evolution. It is an evolutionary period of how we are operating, and we are operating in a different scale of efficiency as a business. So it becomes extremely important that CFOs and controllers and businesses in general are not viewing it with the same lens. Now, how well they adopt technology, especially AI, which provides you not 10%, 20% efficiencies, it is providing you 2x, 3x efficiencies, right? This gives a different lens, and that's why I said it's a fundamental shift. Now, so we are in a situation where companies adopt or die, right? It's a strong statement, and that's my opinion. And I believe so that businesses survive with a strong adoption of AI technology today, right? And we are in an evolutionary period where they continue to grow, they balance their growth with a different scale of operational efficiency with the adoption of technology. And it's not just how much technology you build within, but it's also how much technology across your different functions, different operationals, are you able to drive efficiency towards. So now every operator and every CXO plays a different role in driving efficiency.
Got it. No, totally. I think you've hit the right notes there, especially in terms of the fact that the entire playbook needs to be rewritten, because what worked for you 10 years ago is not, in fact, even 5 years ago, is not going to help you.
Is obsolete. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we probably reached that inflection point where it's adapt or, die, as you said, slightly diabolical and I would say dystopian point of view. But thank you so much for sharing that, Aravind. And that actually brings us to the close of episode 1 of this fantastic podcast that we are doing. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your razor sharp insights. As always, I get to hear it often in person, but this is going to go out to a much larger audience, and I'm sure they'll derive value from it as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Aravind.
Thanks for having me, Pradyut.
And as we say here, right, and as you, Aravind, you also keep propagating the fact that it's the heroes of AR who make it happen. And as some heroes wear capes, some heroes actually collect cash faster and accelerate cash flow as such. So thank you once again. And for all you AR folks out there, keep fighting the good fight.